Welcome to another episode of DD on. Yeah, she's already got it again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of DD on the spot. Ripped Vixen, everyone. I mean, she really doesn't need any introduction. I mean, just look at that. That's just absolutely insane. As we can tell, she's coming on for the second time, and as you can see, she's put on some significant muscle from the last time that she was on, even though I didn't even know that she could. But she's talking to us, going to give us an update on her bodybuilding journey and what she's been up to. I mean, it's been a little bit over a year since we last talked, and I mean, obviously, as we can tell, she's definitely been doing some major work. But once again, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. And I want to ask you guys for some help. Please follow me on Instagram because my last account got suspended. I had about 10,000 followers, and now I'm starting from scratch. So if you can, go to at IFBB Pro underscore Ripped Vixen. That's my new Instagram. And definitely follow my YouTube on here too because I got a YouTube channel that I've been putting my training videos on. Me and Hele have a Smash series, and uh, I've been filming some of my pro debut prep workouts. So check that out.
I'll leave a link to all that stuff down below, and I highly recommend everyone go and check that out just to be inspired. Because I mean, it's especially during this time, and obviously we can tell that you've put on some muscle and you're getting ready for your pro debut, like you talked about in a month. But we talked to you about a year ago. What's that journey been like since we last talked?
I'm so blessed to finally be taking this step onto the IFBB Pro stage. It's something that was very fearful for a long time, and I just put a lot of pressure on myself to be the best. You only make your pro debut once, so I wanted to make sure I was going to present the best package possible, which is why I took about a 4-year hiatus from the stage after turning pro at the USA's in 2016. I took first place in my light heavyweight class. I had to put on a significant amount of size before I was physically ready to step foot on stage with these other veterans. So it's been an amazing journey. I'm so blessed to be working with Helene Trevino. She taught me so much and really helped me get into the condition that I'm currently in.
So what's special about training with her? Because like you said, a lot of this muscle's been put on in like the last year. How have you really mixed things up training wise?
One giant leap forward was when I trained with Dorian Yates last September. Was blessed to train with him for a week at Gold's Gym Venice. His techniques and his theories really allowed me to pack on 40 pounds of muscle in about 6 months of time. So I focused on growing my whole entire off season in preparation for this pro debut because I knew I wanted to compete this year. And before I even took those necessary steps, Pele and I have been friends because we've met years ago down at Gold's Gym in Venice, and we've always been acquaintances. But it wasn't until maybe like right before the Corona hit, I went to Venice to train with her. And said, "Hey, I want to show you some of this DYHIT techniques that I learned from Dorian. Let's do a workout together." And we filmed it. That was the genesis of the Smash series on my YouTube channel. And since then, she's been a strong mentor of mine. She's helped me really prepare for this stage. I started prepping with her in May, and it's been an amazing journey.
What was your nutrition like putting on 40 pounds? Did you just go overboard on what was your eating schedule like?
I've always consumed 6 meals a day. The only thing that really varies is the amount of carbohydrates in those meals. So even like currently now, I'm eating the same amount of protein that I was back then. Obviously, the carbs are just significantly reduced. So back then, I was eating a lot more cheat meals. I was still eating clean, but just larger portions as far as carbohydrate intake goes. I would have high carb days, and then moderate carb days, whereas now I'm just pretty much on low carbs every day.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, it definitely shows. But you explain the new training method. How does that new training method differ from other training methods? Because I mean, a lot of people will hear something like maybe like time under tension, or they'll hear like drop sets or something. But the method that you learned from Dorian, how does that differ from other? So like when you mention the workout, and a lot of people are like, oh, I've never heard of that. What makes that workout different from any other type of workout?
Mentally challenging because Dorian only does like 1 to 2 working sets of each exercise. So literally, I would spend 45 minutes or less time in the gym on my workout days because he goes hard. So you do maybe one warm up set on the first exercise, and then after that, you're doing maybe 1 or 2 sets of each exercise. So even when I did train with Helene that first time, she was like, that's it, because she's used to volume training for like 2 to 3 hours at a time. Her workouts are like marathons. Dorian is known for his intensity, and when he trains hard, and you're literally going to failure every exercise. That 1 to 2 sets, that very last set, you're going to failure. So it's all out, and then you're eating to recover. So that's how you're really able to grow so much. You have to break down that muscle. People in the gym do like pump workouts, which is great. I'm happy you're getting in the gym and staying healthy. But if you really want to build significant muscle, you have to tear down that muscle to the point where it's damaged so that it can start the repair and growth process and build upon those layers. So that intensity brought me to a whole nother level. I thought I trained hard before taking that course. And I apply it to my clients now too, and they're getting great results because the intensity level has just increased so much to the point where you can't go there unless you're being pushed by someone. It's hard to go there mentally to fight the pain and to push past that point where you want to give up. But I think that's the main thing that people don't realize. They think they got to spend like 2 3 hours in the gym or train every single day. With these techniques, you need the recovery time, and it's impossible to train every day. I would be so sore. I started doing cryotherapy just to help with my recovery, and that helped immensely.
One of the things that a lot of people don't understand, and I started getting them, right before coronavirus, is massages, because those things help out so much when it comes to rebuilding. And it's not really, I mean, not too many bodybuilders talk about it, but has that something that you've been doing? Because I mean, I can tell you, there's been times, especially after leg days for me, because I'm 6'3", where it's like I need to get at least some massaging because I can barely even walk.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've always been a huge component of massages, but I was never that consistent with it until I started this prep. So Hele changed my training style completely to the point where I was training 6 days a week, which my body was not used to at all. So I knew the only way that I could manage my injuries and recover well was to get massages more consistently. And I'm going all in this prep, so nothing is holding me back. I literally invested so much time and energy into this prep that I'm doing everything I possibly can. So I went from getting like maybe one massage a month off season to getting a massage every week in pre-contest shape. So I have one massage therapist that comes here, and she just does a full body deep tissue. Um, my sports massage guy that I just saw the other day, I mean, he wrecks me. It's so painful that like I can't move, I can't walk the next day. I can't sit down because my glutes are so sore. So there's just two different types. One, the sports massage is more for my injuries, and he'll take care of it in one session, but it's the most painful thing I've ever experienced. And then there's just, the maintenance level, deep tissue full body massage that I have a great therapist. Her name is Leslie. Comes to my house. So I've been getting a massage from her at least every week or every other week, and just throwing in the sports massage to work on my major injuries.
I mean, recovery is just so understated when it comes to the general public's knowledge of bodybuilding. So, I mean, I love to talk about that. But what do you think is one body part that you've improved on the most in the last year since we talked?
Oh man, I mean, I definitely hope I brought up my legs. I'm hoping and praying that my legs will stay as big as they are for the stage. But I'm really impressed with the amount of muscle I was able to put on my upper body as well. My arms are the fullest and the biggest that they've ever been. My shoulders are
Aren't they
nice.
like 16 inches now? I mean, that's just insane.
Yeah, they're a little bit over
A
16
little bit
inches.
over 16. So we can round up. We'll do like 16 and a quarter. And that's, yeah,
Oh,
obviously that's just absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, and yeah. And legs, I mean, that's always a problem area for everyone, especially me, with my height. So it's great that you were able to do that. But other than, just the training and the physical side of it, we always like to talk about the mental side of bodybuilding too. What was that like? Because you took such a long break from competing. What was that like? Having to see like all of your friends and competitors keep going on the stage, year after year, and you're just thinking to yourself, "Hey, I got to play the long game and I got to get ready." But was that a struggle at all?
brought up a good point because I was always sitting on the sidelines. I was every year I was here watching the championships. I got sick of being a fan. I wanted to participate again. Put me in, coach. I'm ready. Like I wanted it so bad that I had to take every necessary step possible to make it happen. So the I've probably been working on my mental game more so than ever this year. Yeah, I probably invest more time into my mental game than I do my physical game at this point because if you don't believe it in here, you can't achieve it. So I've been following and reading and listening to Billy Alsbrooks. I don't know if you've heard of
Yep.
him. Check him out on YouTube if you guys haven't. He has been my main mental coach and inspiration. I read his book every day, and I every morning I'm doing cardio. I'm watching his YouTube videos just so I can listen to his word, and it's just been kept me on track and given me that champion mentality that I need to have the confidence to do this.
Yeah, I mean, the theme of my podcast, especially when I have bodybuilders on, is that it's so much more of a mental sport than a physical sport, and a lot of people don't understand that. But like I always say, I mean, you can convince your body to work out, but just the getting up part, eating all that food, just going through the motions, especially the cardio. Which I mean, cardio is one of my least favorite things. Even though now during the coronavirus, I've taken up a lot of walking when I'm not lifting. What has your relationship with cardio been like, especially getting ready now for the show?
Yeah, it's ironic because I think my last show, the reason my legs were so stringy was because I was doing an hour of fasted cardio on the stairs, plus an hour of cardio post training every single day. I was doing 2 hours on the stairs to prep for the USA. So I literally dwindled down to nothing because my diet was way more strict than it is now. Pele has not forced me to do a lot of cardio this year, which has been amazing. And I think that's why I've been able to maintain a lot of my size, especially in the legs. I'm still just doing about an hour of cardio in the mornings, and it just recently increased to that time frame. So I've been very fortunate to not have to do a lot of cardio. Getting lean has always been easier for me than to put on size. So I'm very blessed. I In order to prep for the show, I picked up two new cardio machines that I have in my house now. So every morning I just get up, I hit the elliptical, or I'm on the recumbent bike, and I'm getting it done first thing in the morning every single day. I've done fasted cardio. And then all I got to focus on in the afternoon or evening is training hard. And so it's been a blessing to have that schedule because it's working really well.
Yeah, and so what does this last month of your prep look like? Because people don't realize that that last month is the hardest. I mean, people think that, oh, as you get leaner and you get ready, it's going to be easier. But no, that's when stuff really starts to take a toll on your body. So what is this last month looking like for you heading up to the show?
So far, not much has changed. Like I said, the most changes happened about 6 weeks out for me.
Okay.
Like that was when my diet, the carbs got cut a little more, and that was when the cardio increased. So, I mean, I don't know. She could change at any time because I'm updating her every 3 days. So it's always a pleasure to see messages from her in my inbox. But I'm just keeping things the same. I'm focusing on my rest and recovery because that's my biggest weakness is recovery. That's always been my biggest weakness. I work too much to the point where I slack on getting proper rest. But God has moved mountains for me to do this show, and I'm blessed to have a schedule where all I'm doing at the moment is training clients. And check out my new website, rippedvixen.com,
Mhm.
because I just built it this week and updated all that DYHIT stuff. So it's pretty cool. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, I'll leave a link down to that as well. And we talked about this last time, but it's even more important now is sleep because people don't realize that that is the most important thing when it comes to recovery. I mean, you're not going to build if you don't get the proper amount of sleep. And you're one of those people, I think, what's kind of like me, where sometimes you might work a little too hard where it's hard to sleep then because you're just so. I can't really explain it to people because they don't understand it, but you're so tired and sore that you can't sleep, even though that's all you want to do. But how do you try to manage to get the proper amount of sleep? Because, I mean, out of all the people on this planet, you need it more than the average person by far.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. And again, I started taking sleeping supplements, all natural supplements to help my rest improve significantly. I just noticed a long time ago that when I did start taking these sleep supplements, and I'm talking like zero point 0.5 milligrams of melatonin, nothing major here, like just all natural products herbs that help you get a deeper rest and help you get better quality sleep. Because I always slept well. I never have had a problem falling asleep ever. I'm very blessed to be able to sleep because I work so hard. My body's exhausted by the end of the day. But when I started taking these supplements a while ago, even before my prep started, I just noticed the quality of sleep improved, and I realized how important that was to my recovery. So I spend a lot of money on all natural supplements, trust me, but it is well worth it. People that think they don't need supplements and they can get all their vitamins and nutritional values from food are completely wrong. Supplements will take you to a whole nother level that you don't know, you didn't realize you could achieve because you haven't experienced it yet.
Absolutely. I mean, before melatonin, I never fell asleep until at least 1 o'clock in the morning. But now I'm able to go to bed, at like 11 or midnight, and it's definitely a game changer. So for anyone out there who's struggling with sleep, I mean, I highly recommend that. I mean, it's made a world of difference in me. But we talked about posing last time, and obviously, how it's probably the hardest thing that bodybuilders go through. Harder than the working out, harder than the nutrition. But you've had a long time to perfect a posing routine.
Yeah.
What is your posing schedule been like, especially during this last prep? Have you really tried to change things up all the time constantly, or have you just had a set routine for a long time?
No, and this is going back like 3 years ago. Like I said, even when there wasn't a show in sight, I was training with a yoga instructor who had a strong choreography background. So I would train her. I was taking her yoga classes, and I always just throw it out there. When I see somebody who's really talented with choreography and like has dedicated their life to dance, that's the person that I want to get to know. That's the person I want to talk to, so I can soak up like a sponge any kind of information that's going to help me be more fluent and graceful on stage. Because I think that's what is really lacking. LA made a good statement to me. Any when you're not posing, she said, anything in between a pose is a dance. So I started, like I said, like 3 years ago, training with this woman who would just teach me like choreography, and we worked on hand movement. One whole day would just be hand movements. And I do those while I'm doing cardio. I'm doing my hand movements just so that I can be conditioned to already have that hand positioning on stage. So fast forward to now, I applied what this yoga instructor has taught me to the traditional posing and just practice, 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 reps, reps, reps. When I'm at the gym, I'm practicing my routine. When I'm here, I'm practicing in the mirror. When I'm in bed, I'm visualizing my poses. So there's just a lot of emphasis being put on the gracefulness and the dance of it. So I'm really hoping to show you guys a whole different presentation on stage this year.
Well, that's a wholly underrepresented, underappreciated part of it is like like you said, like the choreography, the dance of it. A lot of people just think, oh, you go up and do your mandatories and that's it. But a lot of it is, what you do in between those poses and how elegant and graceful you look. And that's, I think, one thing that a lot of judges are looking for. So it's great. And I was gonna say, you should probably just get in touch with Janine Lankowski, because everyone that I've had on says that she's like the best of all. We're like, I mean, I've heard stories from people who say that she just goes on shows and wings it. She doesn't even have a set routine, and she just goes out there and it's just insane.
Yeah, I saw pictures of her at the Tampa Pro this weekend. She looked great, so I hope she did really well. I haven't gotten the results back yet, but I did see the girls up there at the Tampa Pro this weekend,
Yep.
which has completely inspired me to like get stage ready because I'm only a month away now. So now it's starting to settle in where it's like, okay, I'm ready.
When in your prep do you really start to see the changes in the results from leaning down? Because for some people it's like a few weeks in, and then for other people it's months in. For you, usually, or at least in this last prep, at what point did you really start to see the results and say like, okay, I'm really like leaning down now and I'm really getting ready?
Yeah, I'd probably say this past week was when I noticed a significant change. Like we went from like Hele. That's one thing I like too. She's been throwing in a couple of like refeed meals here and there, which is really nice because I've never had that before. So she'll have me do like a sushi meal, and then I gotta send her pictures the very next morning, and it's like, man, I was 5 pounds up on Monday morning just from having that refeed meal. But then I was that same afternoon, I took pictures and my body had changed like within the same day. So I dropped all that water weight. It was insane because my muscles were still full, but I dropped all the water. fast forward to, 3 days later, progress pictures, and everything was, pretty much back to my weight was back to normal, and everything looked shredded and really nice. So I'm starting to see presently, like, my body's changing on a daily basis now. Like, every day of the week, my body has looked different.
Yeah. I remember that damn water weight where, I mean, that really does change everything, where it's like, oh yeah, I lost like 4 pounds in a day, and I'm like, oh, how's that happen? Well, I mean, all the gallons that I've been having over the time have really helped with that. But yeah, it's another thing that, I mean, like I always say, a lot of people, when they just look at bodybuilding, they think, oh, they work out and then they go on stage and they pose. They don't understand that that's, half of a percent of what goes into this. But I mean, obviously we're talking during the coronavirus pandemic, and it's something that has changed the way we live our lives, and it's been interesting to talk to bodybuilders and see how they've managed to get on with it. But when it came down to your training too, I mean, a lot of gyms closed and a lot of people were just left wondering what to do. How did you struggle with that in the early time when everyone was sort of in a panic and everything was shutting down?
I am so blessed. Like I said, God has moved mountains for me to do this show. So I've always had access to my private gym where I train clients. We kept it open on the DL in the first shutdown, and so I am so fortunate to be able to continue my training and my prep then. Um, I'm in California, so last I heard we have the most cases. So the gyms were only open for 3 weeks. We reopened for 3 weeks, which was amazing because it was cool. I got to go to the gym for a few weeks, but then they shut down again. So they're still currently closed. But fortunately, I still have access to that private gym. So I've been training harder than ever, get my workouts in, and it's a blessing. I'm telling you, like, God wants me to compete on this stage because He is doing everything in His power to make it happen.
Well, like we said before, I mean, this is so much more of a mental sport, but you have on the extra added mentality of going through a pandemic. How have you been dealing with that? Because I mean, it's be stressing enough just to get ready for a show, but then going on with all this, how have you been dealing with this whole crisis mentally?
Yeah, I block it out, honestly. I don't watch the news. I pretend like it doesn't exist because it doesn't exist in my world. It literally doesn't. I go food shopping and put my mask on, but other than that, like, I don't really go anywhere, so it doesn't really affect me at all. As long as I can go to my gym and come home, I'm happy. So it's been non-existent in my world, but as a competitor, I also try to keep that bubble because I want to only have positive energy surround me, and I don't let anything negative or anything that's going to prevent me or get in the way of achieving my goals. I don't let it into my world. I keep a very small circle. I don't associate with negative people. I am so focused on achieving this one task that I've created my own, like, sub world in all the chaos that is around me. We just had a 4.2 earthquake hit, like, my area, like, specifically. Like, I've lived in California for over 11 years now, and when they hit, they're in, like, other areas. So you get like a little rumble, and you're like, "Oh, is that an earthquake?" This one hit, like, directly where I live,
Oh,
and it woke me up out of a dead sleep the other night, and I was so shooken up by it, I couldn't even go back to sleep. And so it was terrifying. If this was just yesterday, it affected me the whole day because I missed out on that sleep, and you know how important the sleep is. I was a mess all day yesterday because of that earthquake. It just brought up a lot of PTSD emotions, and everything just kind of hit me, and I couldn't wait for yesterday to end. I wanted to go to bed. I just wanted to get yesterday over with so that I could wake up today refreshed and back on my positive track of mentally, physically, spiritually creating and manifesting greatness.
and I mean, for all the crap that I get for living in Minnesota in the Midwest, I will say this: I will never have to deal with an earthquake in my life. So I do think that. But I mean, hey, tornadoes aren't a joke either. But hey, I always say there's always a drawback to any place that you want to live on this planet. There's always got to be at least something. So I mean, for all the crap that LA I mean, for all the nice weather that LA gets, I mean, they do have that one drawback, which is the earthquakes for sure. But have they so for this current show that you're getting ready for, had they sent you any like notice of like how they're gonna try to keep things safe during the show? Are they gonna like have you guys like wear masks or stuff, or have they done any awareness on that?
Georgia's cool, which is why I
Yeah.
picked this show. Originally my plan was to do the Tampa Pro, but when the pandemic broke out, all the shows were being canceled. I was like, I don't want to take my chances. because the Tampa Pro is a little bit earlier than the Savannah. I originally wanted to do the Savannah, but it was originally scheduled for April, and I knew I wasn't going to be ready for that. So when that show got rescheduled to the end of August, I was like, that's my show. And then, Georgia has been like open all along.
Yep.
Georgia's got a really cool governor where he sued Atlanta for enforcing the use of face masks. So I was like, yes. So there are no masks required in Georgia. I'm looking forward to going there just to be free of wearing a face mask.
Yeah, I've actually had about 3 or 4 guests since the pandemic started from Georgia, and yeah, that it's going completely different there. So that's I was gonna say if they're gonna have a show, they should probably have it there because it seems like that's the one place where they don't really seem to bother too much with that, and that's great as well. But so we'll see how that goes. But I mean, just so many things of uncertainty with this prep. But one thing that I think is the one positive thing we can take from this is that a lot of people, I always say for the average person that's looking to get in shape or to lose some weight, they always just say, I just don't know how. They just don't have the tools presented to them on how to do it. But especially during this pandemic, where I mean, a lot of people are at home, they're not out and about doing stuff. This is the time where if you want to get in shape or you want to do something, because you have, I mean, again, being that I know that you've trained people and I know you hear this as an excuse all the time, or I don't have the time to do it. This is the one time where you can literally not say that because everyone has all the time in the world. But what advice do you have for people that are, sheltered in and, they just want to do something? And I always say this is the time where you can just at least get started. So when everything opens back up, you can have that base, which will make things so much easier to transition to actually going to a gym and lifting weights.
I agree with you. On the flip side, I have heard more excuses since this happened than ever. And it drives me bonkers because I hear people say, "Oh, I gained all this weight. We're shut down, and so I can't go to the gym." And I want to say to them, I don't because I'm a lot more polite than that. But I want to say, did the shutdown of the gyms force you to eat all that garbage? Did you poison yourself with all this crap just because the gyms were closed? That doesn't make sense to me. I am immune to excuses. If the gyms are closed, in my mind, that would say I gotta eat even cleaner than I ever have so that I don't gain weight or get out of shape. It's all about The Slight Edge, which is another book by Jeff Olson that I have read. I would, no exaggeration, I've probably listened to it on my audio CDs at least 50 times, and I've personally read the book by hand 3 times. The Slight Edge is all about which direction are you going in? Are you going in the right direction to achieve your goals? Are you taking the small necessary steps and making those small decisions on a daily basis to go in the right direction? Or are you saying, well, it won't matter if I eat this pizza right now because it's not going to cause me to get fat right now. So I can eat this cheeseburger or I can have this alcoholic beverage because it's not going to affect me now. But when you accumulate that over all this time that we have been shut down, of course you're going to gain weight because you haven't been making the right decisions. So it all comes down to choice. We all have choices. We all have the same amount of time. Every day is the same. I have the same 24 hours that you do. So what are you doing in those 24 hours to help yourself achieve those goals? And that's where I think time is the lamest excuse because we all have the same amount of time in each day. So why not capitalize on every opportunity you have to make those healthy decisions? It's not that hard to watch a YouTube video and to do a home workout. So I don't care if your gym is closed. There are so many things that you can do in your home, even if you can't go outside. You can get a great workout in at home, and there's plenty of resources out there that are free that's going to help you do yoga. Or I just downloaded a stretch app. You know what I mean? It's like we have so much technology now, and yet we're still not advancing because it comes down to personal responsibility. So until you are mentally ready to commit yourself to a health program, it's never going to happen. I don't care if you have access to a gym, if you have a personal chef, it doesn't matter if you have $1 million in the bank. If you don't want this badly enough for yourself, it's never going to happen.
Well, and I'm going to put myself generally in the population of during the first few months of the pandemic. Yeah, I did let myself go a little bit where I was only working out, like once or twice a week. And I did that for about 2 months and I put on some weight. So recently, like the last month and a half, I've been doing where because I just have so much free time, I'll just walk for at like a 5.5 mile per hour pace and I'll just watch a movie and I'll usually go for like 100 minutes and get, like 8 or 9 miles in, and then I'll lift a few weights. But yeah, it's just with all this free time, yeah, you really just have to take personal responsibility. And a lot of people, yeah, I mean, I know some people just with anything in life, they could come up with an excuse within, 10 seconds of you asking them to do anything. So you're always going to have those people. But yeah, I mean, it's just fascinating, just these times and how they've really, really changed things. And it's just, I just don't know what it's going to be like in the future. So, hopefully, things will get sorted out. But when it also comes to your motivation that you have for this show, I mean, one of the things that I love to talk about when it comes after the show, because so many people have that motivation for the look that you're going to present on stage. But then another myth and stereotype is that, a lot of people assume that these bodybuilders, they look exactly the same, 24/7. They just look like they're on that show. That is unfortunately not the case. I mean, we've had some people on here that have maybe tried to maintain that look and it doesn't really go well, because I'm going to give everyone a spoiler here. They're not at their healthiest when they're walking on that stage. You have depleted yourself, and it's not healthy to maintain. But how do you think you're going to deal with that mentally, just realizing that, hey, when I walk on that stage, that's the best I'm going to look for a while, and then I'm going to have to put on some weight afterwards.
I love the off season, so I look forward to putting the weight on because remember, staying lean is easier for me. So even this off season, I filmed a ton of content this off season, which I've never done in my whole entire modeling career. I've filmed so many cool videos. I've been getting to like bar bending and t-shirt ripping and all that kind of feats of strength stuff that makes me feel really empowered. And they've been selling well. My clips for sale, and they're doing great. I have like the top 3 videos right now. I've been number one on my muscular women category for weeks. I have the top 1 and 2 clips on there. So the fact that I was able to film comfortably throughout my whole entire off season when I was at my heaviest weight, which was 183 pounds, uh, it fills me with confidence because there are so many women that do get insecure post stage, or they refuse to gain weight in their off season and they still think they can make some gain. I am not fearful like that. I embrace the weight gain because I know I can control it. And if you take a look at any of those YouTube videos or clips for sale, I'm still relatively lean. Like you can still see my 6 pack. So I'm very fortunate to my strength is dieting. So I can still diet in an off season to the point where I'm going to stay lean. Of course, you're going to have your cheat meals in the off season because that's part of the growth process too. But I know some competitors that are fearful to eat a donut and they refuse to have a burger once a week. It's like they don't realize that you have to consume those calories if you want to get big. And like you mentioned, bodybuilding isn't the healthiest sport. We are healthy, yes, we're healthy individuals, but just like cycling or any other extreme sport, there are necessary steps that you have to take that may not be considered healthy in everybody's opinion. So it all comes down to your choice and your decision. Are you going to let these fears and these things stop you from reaching your goals? No, I'm not that kind of person. If you told me to eat rocks to get big, I would go outside and eat a handful of rocks. You know what I mean? It's like whatever
No,
you
that's the type of content that would get views.
I'm willing to do whatever it takes to reach my goals, honestly. And that's the champion mindset that people need to have.
And I mean, I always like to compare bodybuilding to like real wrestling, not that, like WWE, where like they tell those wrestlers, hey, you got to lose 15 pounds in a week. Good luck. Where, I mean, it's just, yeah, with that manipulation where, I mean, yeah, they look great and obviously they're in amazing shape. But it's like, yeah, you're not going to see them like a year later still, if they keep that up, it's going to be difficult. But along with this increase in muscle, has your overall strength improved on your lifts?
Yeah, because Dorian just taught me how to not hold back pretty much when it comes to lifting. I definitely was able to press the most weight I ever have in my life this past off season when I wasn't my strongest. I think my squat got up to 310 pounds, free weight squats. So I really embraced going to failure because trust me, on those squats, I did fail. And I remember the last time I did it, like I had to call somebody for help because I couldn't get it on the rack. And yeah, I always put safety bars up, but when you're right there, you just can't quite get it on. You just need a spotter. And that's something I don't always have access to, which as a trainer, I am always there safely spotting my clients, which is why they're able to get such great results. But sometimes I wish I had access to a training partner every single workout because I know it would advance me that much more. So that's definitely something I'd like to add in the future is getting a spotter, getting a workout partner full time so that there's always somebody there in case I need them, because off season you have to push it that hard. You have to go all out to your max. You have to go to failure or else you just won't make those gains.
That's bringing up a horror story for me because when I was a freshman in high school, I decided that I was going to try to bench 160 pounds. And, I was as tall as I am right now, but, minus about 60 pounds. So, yeah, that wasn't fun. So I didn't have a spotter. So I'm just going to leave it at that, where I didn't get hurt or anything like that, but it was just, yeah, those spotters, I tell you. But a question that I asked right before New Year's was that I asked for all for all the people that watch us is what's one body part that people are looking forward to, growing the most this year. And the choices were arms, back, legs, abs, and I think I forgot what the other one was, but arms won by like 20%. So I know I like to ask all my guests that I have on, what does an arm workout look like for you?
Hele has me supersetting buys and tries, which was different for me versus the program I was on under Dorian. So the whole supersetting buys and tries thing has given me an insane pump. I posted a picture on my Instagram yesterday. That was post arm workout. And even one of the trainers at the gym was like, "Your arms are huge." And I was like, "Thanks." Because I think when you superset the buys and tries, you're just pushing so much blood into there that it can't help but get volumized, and you look so swollen for that time that you're training. It's amazing. I wish I could look like that all the time, but the pump only lasts a certain amount of time.
Oh, I mean, I've had times too where if I know I'm going to a party or a friend's house, I might, do a little few curls, like about 15 minutes before I leave, just so I can try to maintain it. And yeah, but yeah, and it's just fascinating. But yeah, supersetting, mixing things together. I mean, that's one thing that a lot of people do. But I mean, it's like just like we talked about in the last podcast. No one's genetics are the same. So I mean, you just got to figure out what it's up individually with you, and it takes a lot of trial and error. But if we were to have you back on a year from today, where would you like to be at in your your bodybuilding journey? Where would you like to be at in your overall life? What are some goals that you would like to have achieved if we were to talk to you a year from today?
I would like to say that I've competed at the Olympia. That is my goal this year is to win the Savannah Pro so that I can qualify for the Olympia. So just being able to set foot on that Olympia stage this year would be the best opportunity for my career. So that is what I'm putting all of my hard work and investing this time into, and really just putting it out there that I will compete in this year's Olympia. It would be a huge blessing. I would like to say a year from now, I'm prepping for another show because I would like to keep this ball rolling and continue my competitive career. When you do take a step away from the stage, it's so easy to be comfortable in the responsibilities of life that it's hard to step away from those responsibilities and invest this much time and energy into prepping for a show. I have a full time job and I train clients part time, and then I have my bodybuilding passion. So there there are some restrictions where we all have responsibilities, we all have bills to pay, but I think what's the most important thing is that you're following your passion. And what I've learned is when you're doing what you love, it's not work. So a year from now, I really like to not be working my full time job that I don't particularly care for and doing more of what I love doing, which is training people. My long term goal is to own a private gym just like the one I train at now for personal trainers to train their clients. But I would love to teach classes there in the mornings as well as train clients myself. So that's like my ultimate career option is if I could just because I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I always have been. I love being my own boss. It's not easy working for somebody else. And mainly because I get to control my time. I have access to my time. So I can fit my bodybuilding career into my schedule much easier than being controlled by somebody else's schedule 40 hours out of my week. So if I could, in an ideal world, I'd be running my own business and doing what I love, which is helping people get fit and healthy.
And I honestly think that you can do that because I mean, it's just, I think this quarantine is giving people a lot more insight on, being healthy and in shape and really, making changes to their lives. So I think once this all, breaks down, we will see an increase in people that, want to work out and want to get healthy and stay in shape. But yeah, and then again, Rip Vixen, we cannot thank you enough. And is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to?
I just want to thank Hele for all of her help. She has really taken me under her wing. She's the best mentor I've ever worked with. This is the first time I've hired a female coach, and I think it makes all the difference in the world. There are so many great coaches out there, but it has made a huge impact to work with somebody who I look up to. And so she's always motivated and inspired me, just like she does for the hundreds of thousands of people out there that follow her. So I definitely want to thank her and thank you for having me on and allowing me to talk about my journey and giving some insight onto this prep this year.
And that's awesome. Well, I gotta say, we had a guest on that I published the podcast I think about a week ago, but she was, she does hormone health for bodybuilders too, and she's also one herself. And that's one thing where I always find it fascinating that so many females have male trainers, where it's like males and females hormones is so different. I mean, you could not astronomically put how different they are. So I always find that funny, where it's like, yeah, I really do think that when you have a female trainer with a female competitor, you're going to get a lot better results, because I think they really understand more of what goes into that. So, and that was a whole eye-opening conversation for me, where I was like, okay, yeah, because if you talk hormones about me, I didn't even know that I had hormones as a guy, basically, where I was just like, I'm just one of those guys where they're like, oh, if someone ever told me to go and get my hormones checked, I'd be like, why? I'm not pregnant or anything like that. So I was just one of those ignorant guys where, yeah, so that was a really eye-opening conversation for me. So it's great. It's great that that's happening. And again, you guys go and give her a follow on her Instagram page. I highly recommend it. You'll be inspired to work out and get in shape. And I mean, obviously just looking at that right there, I mean, who doesn't want to look like that? I mean, that's just absolutely insane. But again, Ripped Vixen, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show. It was great talking to you.
I'm blessed to be here. Thank you so much. I hope you stay healthy, and I hope to continue this conversation again soon. We shall meet again.
Absolutely. Well, I'll do it after you win this next damn show, and then we'll see if we
Yeah.
can have you on and talk about that. But again, you guys, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone. Oh God, geez, that's a great way to end it right